Hey guys, and welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode. Chill video game podcast with me and my wife, Deanna.
Hi.
And me, David.
Yay.
We're going to talk about video games, some random stuff that happened.
And I want to bring up one comment because I think it's fair.
Okay, well...
Go ahead,
bring up the comment.
Yes. So if you've listened to past episodes, I've asked comments and reviews and stuff. So we actually have gotten a couple of comments from the same person, but that's fine. And I figured, I should at least read out one of the comments just to, you can't call out for comments and then not read them out, right?
Okay.
Anyways, this was just in the episode of how free-to-play games gotcha. And I guess towards the end of it, I was talking about how I wish in, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door that, Mario and Luigi would have the kind of, fake Italian things that they had in the Mario and Luigi RPGers, or... Yeah,
the Mario and Luigi series.
Yeah. So, Coconut just says, were Mario and Luigi silent, or were they silenced? So, just a silly thing. But... he's been listening to the pod, so thank you, Coconut.
Thank you.
And he says, love the pod, keep it up, and we're going to try that, so.
Yep, we'll keep on plugging away.
Yep. So if you have any comments, and I'll try my best to either reply to them or at least read them. I mean, I read them all, which has been two.
Yeah, there was a few on YouTube, too, and we probably won't reply to everything, but we do read them all, so thank you.
Yes. So what would you like to talk about?
I guess we should do slight news first, and then we can talk about what we've been playing after.
Yeah, sure.
They're both kind of related because it's a very Pokemon heavy episode today.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, okay, let's
talk about the news.
So
Nintendo's being a big old fat meanie head. Nintendo
is suing the developers of Palworld over a patent infringement, and it's a mess.
Have they released which patents it is yet?
If there's only speculation so far, but we can see what the patents that they might be. They had patented some stuff for Arceus. Is that what it's called?
I've heard both Arceus and Arceus. So
Arceus,
whichever.
I think, is actually the right one. Anyway. And it's patenting stuff like you would expect, throwing a Pokeball and capturing monsters and the three little wiggles.
They only patent that in Arceus?
That's the most... I think that was the most recent game, or that's the most recent patent, or that's just the one people online have found. That's the thing, you could patent pretty much anything you make as far as games go. Okay, they've patented that, but... Other companies have patented things like the loading screen games or the Nemesis system.
Right.
And obviously this kind of stifles what other people can do with cool ideas. So instead of being able to be I want to make a monster making game too, and I'm going to use a capture thing, you probably would have to do something a little bit different. But I mean, when you think about it, the mini game idea that somebody had patented for loading screens, right?
Right.
What's to stop you from patenting, let's say the Megami Tensei people. I forget what company made the original Megami Tensei. I don't know if it was Atlas yet. It might be. But Megami Tensei was way back on the NES days, well before Pokemon was ever a thing. And in that game, you could befriend monsters that you fight. You could befriend, add them to your party, and use them in your party, kind of like Pokemon.
Right, but when you befriended them, did you capture them in anything?
Well, no. Here, the thing is, though, you could patent, say they wanted to patent, this is a great idea. Let's patent the idea of these enemy monsters. We can make them our friends, and then they fight with us. If they would have patented that idea...
Pokemon probably wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I mean...
I guess this is why patent lawyers are a thing, but even if they had, say the Shin Megami Tensei people had originally patented the idea of monsters you can befriend and then use them on your team, but technically Pokemon would say, well, quote unquote, you're not befriending them, you're capturing them. So would that be enough of a difference to get around that patent in particular?
I mean, you would have to bring that up in the courts, but I think Atlas could, if they did patent, which they didn't, they could easily say, it doesn't matter how you're bringing them into your party. Our patent is, there was an enemy monster, now they're fighting for you.
Well, yeah. Again, I don't know how far patents go.
And that's the thing too. Patents are they are controlled by fallible human beings. Not only the person the person or company that's trying to get something patented, but the person in the office is reading those patents and deciding yes or no. Like, we had recently gone to this little thing locally here about patenting and copyright and trademarks. And even though, like, I kind of already knew the gist of things, there were some interesting things brought up. Like, sometimes if you patent something or copyright or even trademark it, it's going to go to somebody sitting down in an office, and they're going to decide if this is a valid patent or a valid trademark. But again, they are just regular ass people, so sometimes you might get lucky and the person will be like, yeah, okay, sure, let's patent this. Or sometimes you'll get somebody that will be really a stickler and be like, no, I'm not going to patent this because of this or that.
I think that lawyer guy also brought up that sometimes, I forget if it was just trademarks or just copyrights or something like that it actually didn't even necessarily go to a person the first round. It went just through a database. Yeah, it's something about a database, and then it would go and see, like, if the words or something matched. And if it matched too closely, it would deny you, and then you go and appeal it or something.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, if you needed the ultimate judgment, it's a person doing it. So,
plus, we're also looking at it from a U.S. centric.
Yeah,
I have no idea what differences
it's going to be in
Japan goes through.
So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. But it is very annoying for a company to be like, we're gonna patent this game idea. Like,
it is funny too, though, because I forgot. I don't know if it was Temtem or a different Pokemon inspired monster
so many out there now.
Games.
Yeah,
but one of them instead of using like a ball capturing device, they use, like, I think they said it was like a triangle or something.
That would not get past.
Well, I'm just saying, apparently in that game, one of the NPCs or characters makes a joke about, man, I wish there was a better shape to capture these Pokemon or these creatures in, because this is so, I don't know, unintuitive. So
yeah, like that, I would imagine if Nintendo really wanted to, they could try to sue them for the same thing, because, like, you can't just be like, oh, it's a triangle, not a circle. It's still the same idea. Yeah,
but wasn't one of the patents about the Pokeball specifically? Like that,
the idea of it,
the capturing device. But if it has to be a circle, like we patented the circle capture device.
I don't think it's the circle that they patented. It's the idea of the device.
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, they could go after Temtem, I guess. I mean, even Genshin Impact has, in one of the updates, they added basically Pokeballs, where you get this little, I think they call them like Serenity Spheres. And you take these little balls and you throw them at the wild animals and you can capture them.
Weird. The only part I noticed was that you were like turning into the animals, and then you were like, they weren't necessarily different mounts. But...
No, this is the thing about Genshin. It's so big and there's been so many updates. That's a whole different thing.
Okay. I'm just saying that's the only part I saw.
I know, but you played like not even 10% of the game, so anyway, yeah. So.
Actually, wouldn't they also go after Blizzard, or would they not, because Blizzard's too big?
Blizzard had that in WoW at some point too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you could catch the little pets and then battle them.
I think they're just going after Palworld because...
they probably can't afford the lawyers.
I don't know. Palworld has made a lot of money, but they're also in Japan.
Well, that's too.
So maybe it's that. Maybe it's because they were a breakout success. Maybe they thought the Pokemon designs were too similar to looking like Pokemon. Because, like, there's a lot of monster games where the monsters are not as appealing as Pokemon. Like, yeah, Temtem and Cassette Beasts and, like, a bunch of those games, they're just different designs. Whereas Palworld and Pokemon have that very Japanese-inspired, cutesy, mascot-y kind of look, right?
Well, between that and even if the people that created the Palworld creatures didn't actually steal the models and whatnot from Pokemon.
Didn't.
I know. But some of those are incredibly close. And I'm not
Some of
talking
them
about
are
like the
similar.
chicken or the sheep, because you can't patent a fucking sheep.
Yeah.
But some of them are pretty
I think the
close.
worst one was the one that looked like I don't remember the name of the Pokemon or the PAL, come to think of it, because I never used it. But there's that one, like, sea dragon thing.
Oh, kind of like Gudra?
No, was it Milotic, I think?
Melodic?
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, it looks like that a lot. And it's like, that's probably, in my opinion, the worst ones. Like, they probably, this slender looking viper dragon with the nose and the thing, they should have gone a little different, because a lot of the other designs, in my opinion, are really good and like different enough. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's going to be like, we're designing something in this style, so if we make a lion, electric lion or fire lion, it's probably going to look like one of the 1000 Pokemon that already exist.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, you can base creatures. I mean, Pokemon does it. I'm sure other ones do this. You take a creature that vaguely exists in real life, say a caterpillar, and then, oh, they're going to have elements. Well, there's only so many elements in the world
Yeah.
that we're aware of and stuff.
Well, I mean, also Palworld only has like 6 elements, I think.
I guess.
1, 2,
But,
3,
like, those
4,
are going to
5,
cross
6,
over at some
7.
point. So, like, I can understand how, say even a grass caterpillar or something might start looking similar. And then you start building them on things like the Japanese yokai,
Yeah.
or monsters from other mythologies and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're all going to start looking the same. So it's also kind of tricky that way.
I just feel like, I don't know, Nintendo has nothing to worry about. Pokemon is the biggest media franchise.
Yeah, maybe they should consider putting more of their money towards making better games, but
It's very frustrating. I mean, I don't know. I like, it's an indie game, and like, we're gonna talk about some Pokemon fan games later. Those are basically indie games too, and like, people, they have a love for this idea or concept or even the franchise, and they want to play with it. And it's like, technically, when you're drawing fan art, if Nintendo really wanted to be,
massive dicks about it.
they could, cease and desist. Hey, you're drawing Pikachu and he's doing this unauthorized thing, so we're going to sue you unless you remove that from the internet or whatever. So it's really frustrating, and again, it stifles people's, other developers and creative people's ability to like play with ideas. Like, we have the Nemesis system, right? Like, how many open worlds could have something like that? Or imagine, like I said, if Megami Tensei had patented the monster befriending mechanic, and then like, other games couldn't use that, because like, back
Dragon
when,
Quest also did something like that with the monsters, didn't they?
yeah, I think that was after Megami Tensei though. I don't know if Megami Tensei was the first one that did this, but that's like, in my mind, one of the earliest ones that I can think of. But yeah, Dragon Quest also has the Dragon Quest Monster series. And again, like, I know there's a
Do you
meme.
just befriend them, or do you capture them kind of like Pokemon?
I don't know. I've never played one of the monster games. I know in Dragon Quest V, you can befriend monsters, and they just like randomly join you. Like, after you beat them, sometimes they'll join you. You have the option to say yes or no. But I don't know if I've ever played any of the monster games. I think Dragon Quest V is the only one in the mainline series that has that mechanic built in.
Maybe you should, because you like the monsters in Dragon Quest, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
Or are they too old and it's like the quality is not as great as it could be?
there's other reasons, but I haven't played any of them yet. Maybe one day, but no promises.
Okay, fair enough.
You can, by all means. Don't be like, hey, you should play it. No, if you want to play it, you should play it.
Well,
Anyway, I guess we could keep going on and on about this patent thing. That's frustrating, but it's just, I remember back when the loading screen minigame thing was brought up, and just how frustrating back in the day was when we're playing like Need for Speed or other PlayStation 1 games, and you just basically had to look at a big old loading bar for like a minute or more.
I guess I should look into like what those original loading screen minigames were, because I think I've mentioned this in a past episode, but the only one I can ever remember was when I was installing, I believe it was The Sims 1, or was it The Sims 2? One of those. And I remember installing it, and they would have like match games and stuff, or like a little quiz. asking you about things. And then they never did that again. And I guess at the time I was a kid, I didn't really get into it. So I wonder if they had to stop because of Bandai. I guess that would make sense.
Don't know. I don't remember that in The Sims, honestly.
I'll have to look that up. I'm sure someone's probably documented somewhere, if not straight on YouTube.
But it just makes me, again, wonder, like, what other terrible possibilities could have been. Like, imagine if Adventure on the Atari patented the idea of you could walk around this thing and you can pick up a key and use that key on a door. And this is a new adventure mode for video games that has never been seen before, so we're going to patent it. Well, there goes Zelda.
I guess, like, instead of worrying about what could have happened, try and figure out, is there a way to stop these patents? Like, I can understand to some degree.
I don't think we're stopping anything. We're a bunch of nobodies here.
Well, okay, I didn't mean us, as in, like, us two, literally, or even the people listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm talking about us as, like, a collective society.
Patent laws would have to be redone, I guess. But again, this is in Japan, so that's up on... It's to them, too, so...
Didn't they say patents, there's something about international agreement about it, though? Of how it works? Because, one patent in one country, may or may not go to another one?
It depends on... I mean, this is getting very complicated, but it's going to depend on each country's, their trade agreements and stuff like that, so...
I just hope the lawyers that we watch on YouTube, Legal Eagle and Mooney, will come up with something. Like, do videos explaining this shit, because, yeah, this is way beyond our pay grade.
I guess. It's just frustrating, and, like, I just want Nintendo to...
Stop being dickheads.
To read the room. And to see that people... their consumers, their customers, hopefully aren't cool with this. I mean, it's hard to say because there's a lot of Nintendo fanboys out there that just Nintendo can do no wrong. And I mean, anybody that does that for any big corporation is incredibly cringy to me, and I don't understand it. Whether it be Nintendo, Steam, Sony, whatever. Like, these are just big corporations. They aren't your friends.
Yeah. And, like, I can understand, again, with, like, fan games... I forgot, was it Yuzu or something here in Warwick that did the thing with Breath of the Wild, or... They
were selling access to...
I can understand suing over that.
This is a whole other thing. That's piracy.
No, I know. But also just with fan games, I can understand Nintendo not wanting fan games to have people pay money to play those games.
Yeah, but they still take down games like Metroid.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. I can understand this one point, but when they take down fan games that aren't making a profit off of that, is wrong, is what I'm saying.
Because, like, in my opinion, a fan game is fan art.
Yes.
So, like, if you're not going to sue and take down fan art or Let's Plays, then somebody...
Well, Nintendo did have an issue with that for a while.
For a while. I guess they've, quote-unquote, smartened up about it. I mean... Oh god, that's a whole other issue that maybe we can talk about one day. I don't want to get into it. The whole concept of Let's Plays and, like, is that piracy? Maybe a hint for a future discussion. But yeah, it's like, that Metroid 2 remake fan game was so good. And I understand, like, it was bad timing because they were making their own Metroid 2 remake, which in my opinion was inferior to the fan one. But maybe that's just my bias for 2D versus 3D. It's just sad because, like, ultimately, it's impossible to say, even with this, like, if you play that Metroid 2 remake, are you not going to buy the 3DS remake? I mean, I played both. Most people are probably going to try to, play the official one. Because it has a higher budget and, like, it's more canon, basically. But to these companies, they don't care and they'll stomp those things out. So...
Well, at this point, I think as much as you can, and... because the games legally can't be making money from this, just play all the free Pokemon fan games that you can possibly enjoy. Like, if they seem to be up your alley, which we will explain in a few minutes, give them a shot while they still exist.
That is an interesting point, because a lot of these people who make these fan games, it's like a labor of love that they put out for free, and it's like their stepping stone into their own game dev. Because, like, the Metroid 2 remake guy, he ended up working with Ori and the Blind Forest devs. So,
sweet.
Yeah. And I know some of these fan games that we'll talk about, they're also working on their own games. One of them is on Steam. I don't remember the name of the one on Steam, but I got the name of the fan game listed. And it's like, yeah, we made this fan game. People loved it. We're going to make our own game with, monster catching kind of stuff. It's basically like a fan Pokemon game, but not Pokemon, so that they can sell it on Steam, right?
Right.
And it looks good. The sprites are amazing, and it's clear that they have a lot of talent. But, like, that's the thing with these fan games, and, like, it's just a beautiful thing that people put out into the world, and it's a shame that some corporations don't, I don't know if I want to say appreciate it, or appreciate the fans' labor of love. Because you see,
I guess that would be another thing that maybe not us little people, but maybe in the grander scheme of things could change, because, Nintendo has had the thing, which we've seen videos on, where, like, they have to try and keep their copyright of their name, so they don't want it used by other people. But at the same time, they make billions of dollars. People making these little fan games that you play for a couple of hours, you don't pay for. They're not taking away from Pokemon, it's just adding to it. They're making games that Pokemon, the company, will never make because it's not worthwhile.
It's interesting because they haven't gone after too many of the fan games. I know they went after Pokemon Uranium, but that's just one of many. Like, there are so many. I guess this has kind of obviously gotten away from the whole trademark discussion, but...
Because I can understand if they were getting upset over creators, like, making plushies and stuff, because that's, like, half of what they make, but...
That's an interesting thing, too, because a lot of people do make crafts, and even, like, again, fan art. If you take fan art and, like, make it a poster or make it a shirt, I don't know, can you get in trouble for that? I mean, yes, you could, but you still see stuff like that being sold all the time. Like, you bought a pair of Pokemon leggings.
Yeah.
And they're cute as hell. That's not an official Pokemon thing, though.
No. I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of just make it until you get the cease and desist, I suppose. But I've also seen, like, the free crochet patterns and stuff. My Magikarp hat was technically, like, magical fish hat. And I didn't even pay for that. It was a free pattern, so they could have just called it Magikarp and it probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
The Mew one is also free. Again, I haven't paid for any crochet ones. I just use free patterns. It just calls it, Mew. Another one was Happy Dragon, but it was Dragonite. So you'll get both sides.
Yeah, it's a weird and tricky world to navigate when you're doing stuff like that. Anyway, maybe...
Would you like to explain or go over some of the fan games you've enjoyed?
Yeah, since we brought up fan games, maybe that'll be a good segue into the topic. So I think I mentioned it last time how I've been getting into, I don't know what led me down the rabbit hole, but just the idea of Pokemon fan games. Maybe it's because, I really liked Palworld, and it's like, I like the idea of Pokemon, but I'm kind of tired of the Pokemon formula.
That's fair.
And I don't know, just to see, like, what other people can do with the idea. So, I've been playing a few. Maybe I should quickly go over the ones that I'm probably not going to keep playing, and then I'll get a little deeper into the ones that I liked and might keep playing.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with this gym of mine, since I talked about it a little bit last week. I kept playing it, and I've gotten to the point where the gym is still the same size, but you rank up, basically. There's, like, this renown system, and the more you beat trainers or do stuff, you get prestige, renown, same idea, basically. Yeah. The more you do that stuff, the higher your gym rank goes, and I guess the higher that goes, the more Pokemon you can have in your gym. The higher, I don't think level matters, but, like, you start with 3, and then, like, later on maybe you can have four Pokemon in your gym. But when you're out and about in the world, you can just use, 6 as usual. It's just when you go to open your gym, it's like, okay, I got to bring my 3 gym Pokemon or whatever. It's funny because when you think about it, Brock started with just 2. Anyway, you sit in your gym, people come in and fight you, and it's like, they're not Pokemon protagonists. They're just NPCs, obviously. So some of them they don't have great teams. Like in the beginning of the game, I'm sitting here with my Steel gym because I picked Steel. And here comes Bugcatcher with a bunch of, like, Metapods and Caterpies and stuff. It's like, well, this guy has no chance.
Oh, he's trying his best.
And, you get a bunch of different ones. And, like, sometimes you'll run into a guy that is dangerous because he has the right type or just has a particular dangerous Pokemon. And it's technically, for the short time that I played, I never lost, so I never gave out a gym badge. So I don't know what happens when you do that.
Maybe you should have tried just to see.
That would have been hard though, because I am a steel type, and like steel is really defensive. So
I guess that's fair. Wait till someone comes in with fire Pokemon.
Anyway, I got up to rank 2, and at that point, somebody kind of, for lack of a better word, moved in front of the gym, and she's like, oh, I can help train your Pokemon. And my Pokemon were about like level 18, 20 or so. So I'm like, okay, sure. I have this other Pokemon that's like fallen behind a bit. He's like level 13 or something. I want to get him up to 22. Turns out her team is made up of nothing but like, what's the evolution of Chansey?
Blissey?
Yeah, that's it. Blissies. She has like, you can fight her with a team of 3 Blissies or a team of 6 Blissies. And I'm like, well, I don't need 6. I just need a little bit of levels. I don't want to go crazy.
But you already knew that the level XP was like...
No, I didn't know that. So
Really?
I started the thing, and I'm like, okay, we'll fight 3 Blissies. Maybe that'll get my Pokemon up to like level 20. Well, it turns out her Blissies were level 50.
Holy shit.
And my Pokemon were like level, like again, like one was like level 12, and the rest of them were around level 20.
Are these Blissies just like standing around and your Pokemon are just like punching them in the gut?
They have all defensive moves, and they're holding a poison item that increases poison attack, but hurts any Pokemon that isn't poison. So their health is slowly draining.
Oh my god.
So yeah, they're basically you just sit there for a bit and get free XP. But they're so high level that like all my Pokemon immediately jumped up to like mid 30s just from the one battle.
Fucking hell.
And it's like, that was too much. Like that's way too much. Now I'm way over leveled for the rest of the adventure. Because like when I'm not doing my gym, you can go around the world and like see other trainers and see what's going on with this, local gang. But like all their Pokemon are like level like 18, 20, and now I'm rolling around with a team of like 30 plus, and it's just like that kind of killed my desire to keep playing it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've played games like that of like, oh, we're gonna make the XP like times 10 or something. And it's like, it's fun at first because, oh my god, I'm so powerful. But then it's like, nothing matters after that.
And what's kind of annoying is like, well, this wouldn't be annoying normally, but all the wild Pokemon scale to you. So when you're walking around getting into random encounters, they're really annoying because they all scale to you. Whereas when you run into the trainers, which should be the interesting fights, they're all ridiculously easy. And it's like, sure, I could just like get a new team of Pokemon, but like they would have to be leveled up, and I'm either going to use the Blissey thing and get them up to like level 30, or I'm going to have to grind them out against wild Pokemon that are way too hard for them to kill. And it's just, I don't know. I think I'm done with that game. There's also just the whole thing of like grinding for prestige to get your gym rank up. So it was fun, but
did you so you didn't get to a point where you could hire trainers to be in your gym?
My gym technically did have trainers, but you don't really see them.
Yeah, because your gym apparently stays the size of a broom closet.
I guess they kind of like, you can imagine that the gym trainers are like outside. Like you walk into the gym, there's the main gym area, and then like you're in like a final room. That's my like headcanon. Because technically I did have like people you could hire to be your, gym people. And they help bring more prestige to your gym too, so. And on top of that, there's this whole mechanic where you could like rebuild the town and like build buildings, and for some reason factories and stuff. I was like, God. Is this like SimCity 2 for some reason? So it's interesting. I think it was fun for a bit, and if somebody wants to try it, Pokemon, this gym of mine, I say, you know what? I got like 6-7 hours of fun playtime before I'm like, I'm done. And for free, that's not bad.
Yeah, it sounds. The idea is there, but it also sounds like they went a little bit too far with it, with like the building of the city.
I think the thing about the building of the city that was interesting is that like, because you're a gym leader, you're like an important person of this town. But the fact that, and I guess because you're the player, you're going to have a lot of the agency. They're not going to make you sit through bureaucracy, right? And it is kind of cool. Like, oh, if you're helping to rebuild a town, you're putting in funds. But like every day that ticks by, your gym makes money, and so does like the buildings. So like you'll get like a little payday every day, which is nice because sometimes in Pokemon getting money can be kind of a pain. But I don't know. It was
I guess
fun.
in my head it feels like the economics of whether the gym pays more taxes for whatever money it makes off of defeating the trainers and putting that into the town. I can understand how the town would build up around the gym.
Yeah.
But not necessarily that the gym leader is building up the town.
I can see how the gym leader would have an impact or say, but yeah. But again, it's a game. Don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, I guess. It just seems like maybe the scope of it was a little bit too much, and then they goofed up with the leveling issue.
Yeah, they should have warned me. Like, I have 3 level 50 Blissies, so keep that in mind. Your Pokemon are going to get hyper leveled. I mean, I could have saved before and then like rolled back my save, but I didn't know when my last save was, and it's fine. The thing is, though, I was also playing another Pokemon fan game, and there was other ones I wanted to try, so I wasn't too upset about like, I'm going to put this one down.
That's fair.
I'm going to go over a few more that I didn't play as long, but that were kind of interesting.
Like the thought was there.
Yeah. 2 of these are from Spanish developers. There's a lot of Spanish fan games, actually. You'll see like they have to get localized from Spanish to English. So the first one I'm going to talk about is, okay, how do I pronounce this? Reminiscencia? Pokemon Reminiscencia. It's basically, I thought it was going to be a roguelike.
It definitely sounds Spanish.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a roguelike because the thing was like, oh, there's this randomly generated areas, and you're basically getting random Pokemon. The Pokemon don't level, so you'll replace them when you find newer Pokemon. That might be better. And I thought, oh, that sounds fun. Like, every run can be different. And the first run was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, okay, I've come to this thing. You're with this NPC who's, let's just say they're a technically divine being or something, and they're using this magic to like, there's these Pokemon that have lost their form, and you come to this magical blobs, and somehow like, oh wow, wait, we can bring them back from the brink, and then that brings up like a random thing, so you get like a random Pokemon.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fan game, the story's kind of whatever. Yeah, so I go up to the first thing, it's like, okay, here's your first Pokemon, and you get a choice of like, I think it's 4 or 5, but they're just completely random, right? You see what they are, you see their stats and their moves, and then you pick one. And that's your starter. I think I got I don't remember the name of it. It's a Gen 3 Pokemon. It's a psychic one, the little green girl that people drew weird fan art of.
Yeah. Shit. I know what you're talking about.
There are so many Pokemon, so I'm sorry if I can't remember all their names. Anyway,
Ralts.
Yeah, the evolution of Ralts, the mid-evolution. So that was my starter. And, like, it wasn't that good. A couple of the moves it had were actually not that great, but whatever. I went through a few screens, did some random encounters. You can catch the random Pokemon if you have Pokeballs, but you can also come upon more of these mysterious, like, energy things where your little friend will help you pull back the Pokemon. And that's where you get to choose like a random one. And I thought it was going to be like, oh, this is going to be hard and you're going to have to do a bunch of runs to get through this. And every time you'd have different Pokemon. Because I like that idea, right? Switching up the teams. But it wasn't really that hard. And like, even if you die, you don't lose your Pokemon. So it doesn't really feel like a roguelike. There's not enough restarting, basically.
Yeah, you're not losing anything.
Yeah. Like, you don't lose items, you don't lose your Pokemon, you're just losing progress through the maze, which, that's not the fun part. So I played that for a while, we got to this town, and then the first area was like a forest, the second area was like this farmland, and then the third area I got to was a cave, and I'm like, you know what, I think I'm good. It's a fun idea, the art is really good, it uses Gen 5 sprites, which are the super animated ones from Black and White.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite look for Pokemon. So visually, it's really nice. I also had a little bit of an issue with the performance on my PC. I think like everything was a little too fast.
Huh. Interesting.
I don't know why that is, but it was fun.
The only thing I can think of just randomly is if the frame rate is too fast, it seems, would a fan game tie the speed to the frame rate?
I don't know.
Or because like tying it to the internal clock doesn't seem like a thing. That's an old school thing. But
anyway, that was Pokemon Reminiscencia. Oh, jeez. Do you want the spelling? No, I'm sure you could find it. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to the next one.
I can put it in the comment.
Yeah, the next one is by these same people, by the same Spanish group, except this one is more of a traditional Pokemon game where you have starters and gyms and stuff. This one was called Realidad System. Pokemon Realidad, or if you want to think of it in English, Real Idea. That's how you spell it.
Real Idea. Oh.
Yeah, Real Idea System, but I think
Okay.
it's supposed to be Realidad. Anyway, this Pokemon game, again, is based on Gen 5 with the animated sprites. Most of the Pokemon are regular Pokemon, but there are Fakemon, which I'm sure you know what that means. It's like
Fakemon?
Yeah. The starters are Fakemon, basically. But they look fine. I ended up choosing this water flying starter, which is like a pelican.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I guess they kind of already had that.
Was it a pelican or a seagull? I don't remember. But it was fine. You know, it's really pretty. I like the sprite art, and I got to this. You know, you go through the area, and it's like, oh, something happened to your. No, wait, that's the other one. Sorry.
You've been playing so many fan games that you get
anyway,
confused.
I got to this part where it's like, oh, we're gonna go talk to this, this professor at the college and have to do some errands for him, and then we went to like this power plant and fought the evil team of this game. So I think I played like 3, 4, maybe 5 hours of it. Probably just like 3 or 4, and I got a good feel for it. And it's fine, but the localization from Spanish, you can tell where like it's not great. It's readable and understandable, but sometimes like the Spanish grammar is just in English, so it's like
it's a little quote unquote backwards, I guess.
And some of the words are still just flat out in Spanish. Like when you're in the system menu and you're looking at like, instead of saying flying type, it says like volar, flying. So it's like, I mean, I know Spanish, so it's not a big deal to me, but I don't know, just it needs a little bit more polish, but it was fine. I'm probably not going to keep playing that one. Maybe if they finish polishing it up, or if I'm really bored. It seems good. It's just, again, I'm playing another one that I do want to finish, and there's a few more that I want to just try first. So I'm putting this one on the back burner. So that was
Should I go over the one that I've tested for like less than an hour, just to have in a little bit of a different voice for a short bit?
Yeah, maybe that would be a great idea, because you tried one too, right? Go ahead.
So you gave me the link for the one called The Last Nurse Joy. So the basic story that I've explored so far is there is a time before the Pokemon world had these automatic healing computers, I guess you want to call.
The do things.
Yeah. So there was a time in the Pokemon world before those existed, and the Nurse Joys actually had to have training in what you would basically count as like veterinary care.
Mm-hmm.
They had to examine the Pokemon, see what exactly was wrong, what kind of disease or poisonings that they happened to have. And this is not just related to Pokemon battles. This is just like anything can happen to a Pokemon, just like anything can happen to an animal in your house.
Yeah.
So this is the story of the last Nurse Joy, and she's on assignment, I guess basically what you would count as Antarctica. And they get in shipments from one of the icebreaker ships, like maybe once a month or so. So they have one of the machines on order, I believe. They're the last ones to get this update. But until that ship arrives, you're working as the Nurse Joy, who still has to do the old ways of looking at the Pokemon, seeing what's wrong with it, and how to take care of it, cure it, whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting concept for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it's not quite up to say something like what was that one game on the DS?
Trauma Center or something?
Yeah, it's not quite like that, of course.
That game went into its own anime BS too, though, with like weird aliens.
Yeah, that was weird. So, but it's not quite up to that speed. But the first case I had to deal with was a Skitty who was with their science owner, and he got
Because they're all like
careless.
scientists down there and stuff.
Yeah,
obviously.
it's Antarctica, so
Yeah.
everyone that lives there is a scientist to some degree. And he got careless. He dropped an ice core, I think, or something, on the skitty's tail, and the skitty's tail broke. So you take the skitty into the observation room, and there's like 3 little sections. They try to make it separated, so like this section is for observation, and you take the skitty and you do like an x-ray, and you figure out what exactly in the tail has broken. And they actually show you, okay, the bones through here have been damaged, and there is blood that is supposed to go through the skitty's tail, and that has been damaged to some degree. But there's no, like, nerves that have been exceptionally hurt or something like that. And then you have to figure out, okay, the skitty's tail's broken. There's a cut, there's an actual wound on it, so we're going to go find the antibiotic cream. We're going to put that on it so it's not going to get infected further. Then you take, like, I guess there was gauze that I picked up, and you wrap the tail. You can also choose to make a healthcare plan. So I thought, well, the skitty's tail is broken. It kind of sucks, but I feel like the skitty can probably go back home to the scientist's room and just kind of like tell the scientist that the skitty needs to just stay in its bed, heal up, whatnot. Another care plan was putting on one of like the cones of shame because the skitty kept licking at her wound.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want her to continuously open up the wound, so you put on the cone of shame, whatever. But at the end of it, when you give the Pokemon back to whoever brought the Pokemon in, they'll give you an evaluation of what happens basically after you give the Pokemon back. So I got a kind of low rating. It wasn't super great. And I think one of the problems was I was supposed to keep the skitty in the laboratory, like as she recovered, because something about the evaluation said that, you know, the skitty went home and tried to relax, but her tail was too big, and I guess she was still trying to like drag it around and wasn't like staying still enough while it recovered. So there was that kind of aspect, and I'm like, you know, I don't know, because I feel like even if an actual animal broke its leg or tail or something, as long as it gets wrapped up correctly, it should be able to go back home, you know, and recover safely. But I guess the scientist was kind of dumb. I don't know. I didn't get the best rating, and I didn't really go much beyond that first case, because it was the next case. You get a Pikachu who has, it looks like it has like a flu or something, because when they show the close-up of the Pokemon, not only is the Pikachu's fur kind of like poofed out with electricity, but it also shows that it's like sniffling or something. But beyond that, I kind of stopped the game after that, and I haven't gone back just yet.
Yeah, you haven't really played it too much. I thought you were in
Another thing, though, is like, I was trying to read some of the books, because there's one of the sections of the room is like the information area, and you can pick up books, and I was trying to read them, and I wanted to try and scroll because I could tell there was more text, but because I didn't have the fonts correctly installed, that might have goofed it up.
Yeah, they warn you about that, but yeah.
Yeah, so that was my own thing. So I installed the fonts. I just need to go back and see if I can read the whole book thing. There were a few, obviously this is a fan game.
Yeah.
This also seemed to be like a game jam game. So
maybe it's not too long.
Yeah, not only is it probably not too long, but there's also things that could be polished, but depending on how long the game jam, if it was like only a week or something, I can see that they didn't polish it. And I'm pretty sure on the forum it said that they weren't continuing development on this game. So there's a lot of things I think that might fall under like quality of life that just aren't in there. And I can see things that could be improved, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But the idea of the game itself, I really, really like, because, you know, I like animals. I like Pokemon. I like something that's not about fighting, and this is right up my alley. It's just a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, that's to be expected. I think a lot of these are, to be fair.
Yeah, I think there was another one. I forgot if it was the noir one you were playing. that is made by the same people, because I noticed the startup had the same names between the Noir game and I believe the last Nurse Jenny or
Oh, really?
Nurse Joy.
I don't know.
So
Well,
it seems like they've made multiples.
I know a lot of these are made by, like, the last two I talked about, I think are pretty much the same people, but I don't know about that. I heard that the person that made the last Nurse Joy was like, she did sprites and like artwork for the other games, but the Nurse Joy one was her game, like that she programmed or whatever.
Oh, maybe that's the name crossover.
So
then.
yeah, it could be. I'm guessing the sprites work and all the visual stuff is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing wrong with the visuals. When you take the X-ray of the skitty and it shows the image kind of quote unquote blown up and shows where the bones are and where the nerves are and the blood vessels and stuff, that was really interesting.
Okay, cool. Because I'm not going to get into it right now because spoilers. My favorite one that I've played was the Noir one called Ash and Frost. I'm going to leave that one for last because that's the one I want to finish.
That's fair.
But yeah, the sprite work in that is really good. And I'll get into that in a moment. I'm going to talk about the other one first. Anything else you want to say about The Last Nurse Joy before?
No, probably that I just need to finish it. I don't know how many casers are in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think you can really judge a game just on, like, basically the first stage.
Yeah, it's like the tutorial. I don't know if there's another one where I have to do, like, surgery or something.
Or, like, you learn more about the world or whatever you're in. Because at first I was like, oh, it's kind of weird that you're down in Antarctica. But then I'm like, that's kind of an interesting setting. It's not going to be like...
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't turn into the thing.
Yeah. But it's still an interesting setting. Anyway, yeah. So I guess in that case, I'll move on to my second to last one. I might keep playing this one because it's kind of good. And this is probably the most well-known Pokemon fan game, aside from Uranium, the one that got canceled by Nintendo. This one's called Pokemon Xenoverse. And again, it's based on Gen 5's artwork, so you got the moving sprites, which I absolutely love, and there are a few fake Pokemon in there, but I mean, I haven't played Pokemon since Black and White, so everything past that, to me, I don't know them anyways.
Yeah, I mean, just as a quick thing, we've seen a couple of those Pokemon animation things on YouTube from official Pokemon, and some of them still looked okay, but there was like that one that was helping the old guy cut the wood. That looked like a fake mon to me.
So it gets to a point where, like, I don't know, is this a fake mon or is this a real Pokemon? I don't know. So I can't be, like, the judge for that kind of thing. I'll say that in Xenoverse, all of them look really good. And I guess you could say the gimmick of this one is... Well, I'm not that far into the game, so I can't say 100% for sure, but there's rumors that some of these Pokemon aren't of this world.
I mean, I guess the title kind of gives that away.
Yeah, maybe it's another dimension kind of thing. I really don't know, but like...
Which is funny, because I think another dimension gets brought up in Pokemon anyways.
Yeah, so it's not like a far-fetched thing, right?
Not far-fetched.
I love that Pokemon. Anyway, so you start off and you're like... One of the first things you'll notice is that the characters, when they talk, they have portraits. And the portrait art is incredibly well done. It looks like Sugimori art. It's just really good.
Damn, like the watercolor feel to it?
Well, no, like modern Sugimori art.
Okay, fair.
But like, it looks like he drew it.
Nice.
The art style is just on point. So whenever you're talking to anybody, like when you're talking to your dad and your mom, because you have a dad in this game, holy cow.
Wow, you got both parents.
Well, he goes missing not too far into the game, but yeah.
You had both parents for 5 minutes.
That's kind of like the catalyst of the journey. Like, eventually you're like, I want to find out what happened to Dad. And your mom's like, well, it's dangerous. And she's babying you because, like, this traumatic thing. Like, what happened to Dad? And she's like, you're all I have left.
If he can go missing, you certainly can.
So, like, you have to sneak out at night, and she's your first trainer battle. She's like, you're leaving unless you can prove to me that you'll be safe. So she challenges you with...
Oh my god, she's tutorial.
Basically. I mean, she only has, like, what is that lullaby Pokemon from the first gen? I forget its name. Jigglypuff. She has a Jigglypuff, so it's not that hard. But
Poor
like,
Jigglypuff.
The art is so good, and your mom is so cute, and I was like, oh, I don't want to make her sad, but we have to go. Anyway, after that, you get to your first town, and you meet, a professor stand-in, and like the first gym. The first gym is like this hippie woodsy guy that he's meditating and stuff.
Aw.
And like, imagine a hippie in the woods. That's what this gym leader is. But when you get to that town, it's like some of the buildings are on fire.
Oh, shit.
Apparently one of the Pokemon has like started a fire, so you meet the first professor when he comes with his Pokemon to put out the fires, and he's like, oh, I remember you, I know your dad, blah 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 blah.
We need the Squirrel Squad.
So you follow him. He's like, well, yeah, this Pokemon's been causing trouble. It's one of these, I forget what they call them, but like, it's basically, it's just a Pokemon. This one is going to be, the first one you run into is an Elekid. You know what Elekid is,
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
But he's a variant of not of this world. So instead of being electric, he's fire type.
Oh.
And it's a really cute design. He looks like a little spark bomb. So
See, I figured like the fire version of Elekid was supposed to be Magby.
yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. But anyways, you can go and fight him, and it's like a boss Pokemon basically, where it has like 2 health bars. Mm-hmm. And to catch these other dimension Pokemon, you have to use a different kind of ball, which the professor gives you of. So you catch this Elekid, who's a fire type, and he has a fun move that when he gets defeated, he explodes and like does damage to the Pokemon that killed him.
Oh my god, he's a Boomalope.
Yeah, it's not a whole bunch of damage, but it's kind of nice. Like, if you're using him and he goes down, he's gonna do a little extra damage, so that can be helpful. Unfortunately, I picked the fire type starter, so I want to use this Elekid, and I have been using him, but it's like I have 2 fire types now. But whatever, it's fine. And yeah, there are some Fakemon in here. Like, one of them is this fighting type that looks like it's kind of cut like it's like a mouse. It almost looks like a Pikachu type ears, but not like, it doesn't look like Pikachu. But I didn't know it was a Fakemon. I'm just like, oh, this must be from one of the later gens, because they all look good, and like the sprites animations are really good, so it just feels like it works. The world looks okay. I will say that the overworld sprites of the characters are kind of weird looking in my opinion, but everything else, especially the in-game when you're like fighting, that it looks gorgeous. I've gotten to this point where I had to get on a boat and we were going to like this other part of the world, and the boat got under attack by a bunch of Sharpedo. So it like crashed, and like I had to find my way there, and this other Sharpedo was another one of these Xenoverse Pokemon. So like, instead of being the normal Sharpedo, which is dark water, this one is water ghost.
Oh.
And it's like, it's just, it has it's a Sharpedo. It looks like a Sharpedo, but it's got like a different color, got like a ghostly effect on it. It's really cool. It's not overdone. It looks like it can fit in a Pokemon game 100%. All of these Pokemon that I've run into so far do. And that's one other thing about Fakemon. Sometimes you'll run into an artist that just goes way too hard, or they don't get the look right. I think Pokemon Xenoverse did it perfectly, because like, for a lot of these, I can't even tell, is this a Fakemon or is this from another game that I just haven't played? And I like that. And there's a bunch of regular Pokemon in there too. Like, my team has the I don't know the name of it because I never played this one, but it has the Ghost Tree.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm using Zigzagoon because I like Zigzagoon.
It's cute.
There's this Spark Owl. I don't know if that's a Fakemon or not.
I'm gonna go with Fakemon, but again, yeah, I haven't gotten to the newest games either.
There's like 5 games we haven't played, so.
Now, is this the game where your character has agency?
Agency?
Like, you can choose how to respond to people instead of just like being a silent protagonist?
Oh, no. You're just a silent protagonist. This is basically kind of a regular Pokemon experience. There's gyms, you pick a boy or a girl, and you name them. Okay. As far as, your character goes, it's Pokemon. There is a few games that do have more, like, you're a set character with the name, and that's what the other one is. In fact, you know what? Maybe I'll get into that one now. I'll just say that Pokemon Xenoverse is fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now.
I really love the look of it. It's beautiful for a 2D game. The last thing I played was last night. I got to this new town where we get introduced to the villain gang, basically, right?
Okay.
And I don't know if this is going to be cringe or not, but they remind me of that band with the weird digital helmets. What are they called?
Oh,
I'm not good with music, people. I'm not a big musical band person.
Shit, I know who you're talking about.
Mouse? No, it's not Mouse.
Dead Mouse? I don't know. It's fine. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure people listening, it's that band, they wear funny helmets with like digi effects on them or whatever. That's what the villains in this game remind me of. And like you come upon them and it's these two guys, they both have different helmets with the things on them, and they're trying to get this relic, and it's funny because they fight you in a duel battle, right? And they use the same Pokemon except one of them is shiny, so you're facing the same Pokemon. One's red, one's blue, and it's kind of cute. They're like a duo. And the gym leader of that town is there to help. It's like, you guys are causing too much ruckus, you need to go. And so you get into a double battle with the gym leader helping you to fight these two dudes, and it's a really cool little moment. But yeah, I haven't gotten too much further than that. It's cool, I'll keep playing it, but the one I will 100% for sure keep playing that I really like, and I saved for last because I really like it, is Pokemon Ash and Frost.
And this is the noir game?
Yes, this is the noir one. You play as Sylvester. He's his own character. He used to be a cop in this city, but now he's just a private detective, right? He's an adult. He's not a teenager. He's just an adult in this world. And the world is just basically this big city. It's one city, but it's big. Like, there's multiple... I haven't seen the whole city yet, but if I had to guess from what I've seen so far, I would say it's about maybe a third or half of what the Fire Red region would be.
Oh, damn.
But it's just in one city, so it's very urban.
So you could pretend it's like Tokyo or New York with like multiple boroughs and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. There's different districts, right? So there's like, this is the commercial district, or this is the university district, or whatever. This is the dock district, and like every district has its own identity.
Is there a red light district?
I don't think so. It doesn't get that bad, but yeah, however, it does have kind of adult themes, but not in a cringy or edgy way, just in a way that makes sense for the characters. Because this guy you're playing, Sylvester, used to be a cop, and in this big city there are some, well, mafiosos and other criminal elements, and some of the cops are also kind of corrupt, we'll say.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, right? And like, it's not edgy, because there's a risk some of these games, fan games, can just be edgy to be edgy. I know one of them, I don't know the name of it, was
where like they swear every 5 words.
Or is like one of the first things that happens is like, oh no, this character that looks like me, except he's all black with red eyes and he killed my mom.
Oh jeez.
It's like childish edginess. This is more like just a gritty noir story with, you know, some bad stuff does happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you start, okay, like I said, you're playing as Sylvester and you're a private detective, and one of the first things that you get hired to do is to investigate some this stolen check at this charity ball down at the hotel. So you go to the hotel and you're like finding out, oh yeah, we're raising money. This was a fundraiser for the daycare. We raised like $10,000 and the check has gone missing and we don't know what happened. Can you please find it? So you're going through, investigating, talking to people. You collect clues like freaking Phoenix Wright. It gets added to your notebook, and you can just investigate the area and also explore while you're there. It's not just about the crime. Like, one of the first things I did in that area was like, oh, outside the restaurant area of the hotel, there's this little alleyway, and there was this empty bowl, and it's like, it looks like there's some remnants of milk in there. If you come back and put milk in there, a Meowth comes by and licks it up, and you don't even have to fight it. The Meowth is just happy and is like to join you.
Aww.
So I got a dark type Meowth, and that was the first Pokemon I caught, I guess. But I didn't even have to catch it, right? One of the neat things about this game too is like the Pokemon are just there in the world. You can see them. So like if you see a Pidgey or the Pidove, you can go up to it and fight it and try to capture it, or you could just leave it alone. But like, it's just there. So
it's like how animals would kind of work in the real city.
Yeah. And it is very urban looking animals a lot of the time. But, sometimes you'll get like, I don't know. I feel like all of these work in the city. You do see a Tyranitar, funnily enough, at one point, and he's like rummaging through garbage, and he's like, you go up to talk to it, and it's just like, this guy just happily rummaging through garbage, and you can't really do anything about it. So you later find out it's a runaway pet, so you can like track him down and for this other person. That's just a side
fair.
Quest.
I mean, we've seen some animals that don't really belong in the city either.
Yeah. So there are side quests too, which is good. This first case, again, is basically just what happened to the check. Turns out to be kind of charity fraud.
Uh-oh.
I won't go too deep into it, but
Yeah,
in case
fair.
you want to
No
play the
spoilers.
game, because it's really good.
I mean, I'm kind of curious, so maybe I'll try that after the Nurse Joy game.
So that was the first case. The second case is like, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's basically like a lover's quarrel.
Uh-oh.
So you're investigating what's happening in this other place, and it has to do with like ice sculptures and stuff. And you're like, oh, what happened to this ice sculpture? Why did this happen? Who are these people? Is this a love triangle? Blah 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 blah. And again, as you're going through there, they're just Pokemon standing around in areas that make sense. So in this, like, they have like a greenhouse that's connected to this mansion because the person that's throwing this ice sculpture show is like rich or whatever, right?
I mean, to afford an ice sculpture, that makes sense.
So she's hosting the artist that is making the ice sculptures, and you can go into her greenhouse and there's a bunch of bug Pokemon in there, and that's where you can catch some of them. There's also, like, outside in her backyard, it's connected to the river, there's some water Pokemon hanging around, and there's a Psyduck there, and that's where I got my Psyduck. He was just hanging around there. I'm like, I want a Psyduck. I go up to it and fight it and capture it, right?
Duh.
So I like that, like, the Pokemon, I guess you could say you're limited in that way because, like, what's on the overworld is what there is. I think there's a few sections with some grass, deep grass, but not many. It's the same, I guess it must be the same artist if you said that you saw her name on there.
I think so, yeah.
But what I really love is, like, okay, all the Pokemon are the same Pokemon that are in every game, right? There are no Fakemon, at least not that I've run into. But the trainers and stuff, because you're in a city, they've actually gone out of the way to make the city feel diverse.
Okay.
Which is something that I've never thought about, but, like, when you're playing Pokemon games, maybe the newer ones fix this, but, like, in the old ones, everyone's white. But in this one, it's still sprites, but,
Or I
like,
guess you could say they're white, but like Asian, yeah.
yeah, in this, there's like, oh, there's different skin tones. That's cool to see. There's not just white people. There are white people. There are a lot of white people, but there's also a lot of, like, you know, darker skinned people. And not all the dark skinned people are bad guys. There's a lot of bad guys that are white too, because I know
that's fair. That can
some
be
games can accidentally do that not so well. But there's a lot of unique trainers too. Like when you run into the lass or the kid, because this is kind of like in a wintry, I don't know if it's just winter or you're up north, but there's snow on the ground. They're all dressed appropriately for the snow, and it's really cute to see the lass in her, like, snow outfit or whatever.
Duh.
And there are some trainers that are like, I think all the I don't know if any of these trainer sprites are reused from the games. They might all be unique for this game. There's gangsters, there's, like, fancy people. One of the trainers I've run into is like, oh, I only train shiny Pokemon,
Oh,
and she's this
yeah, I guess
fancy
that
lady, and
makes sense.
she's got this really cute outfit, and I like it, and, like, she sends out her shiny Pokemon. I forget what it was. And, like, I beat it easily, and she's like, well, it's shiny. It doesn't mean it's powerful or whatever. But
Now, if this is in a city, how many different buildings can you go into?
a lot. Okay. Not all of them have, like, super interesting things, but yeah, it's very dense. So, like, even though the world space is probably, like, at most half or even a third of, like, the original game, because it's dense, there's so many buildings to go into, it feels big. I'm only on case 4 now. I think there's 20 or 22 cases.
Damn. This sounds like a really big game.
They've slowly worked on it for a long time, yeah.
Good for
And
them.
I think I went over the first 2 cases. The third case is when things start getting, like,
Darker.
oh, it's a missing persons case.
Yeah.
Well, the missing person is, yeah, they ain't alive. It doesn't turn into a murder case, but you find out that they ain't alive anymore. And at this point, you're starting to get into, like,
The mafioso.
yeah, and, like, they've always been there. A lot of the times you'll run into trainers who are just, like, gangsters or even just low-level, like, thieves in the streets, and, like, they have their own unique sprites. One of the first ones you run into is, like, this guy who's, like, causing trouble for this lady in the alley. And because you're used to be a cop and you're a private detective, you kind of have that moral code. You're like, hey, leave her alone, whatever, right? And you run into him, and he's got this his sprite is so cool for the trainer art when he comes in, right? It's just this dude in, like, I mean, imagine a noir bad guy in their freaking fedora and coat or whatever, right? It just looks
big
good.
old machine gun.
No, they don't go that crazy. They still use Pokemon.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, it's just the sprite art is so well done, and the music too. Like the game pulls music from other series. I've recognized some tracks from, like, the jazz remix Phoenix Wright soundtrack.
Oh, really?
I've noticed some tracks from Final Fantasy VII. But I'm looking through their music lists because they have a section where you can see all the music. And there's just so many games I've never played. So a lot of this music is just new to me.
I wonder, since it's a noir game, and I think the other game might have counted similar, do they have like the hotel game from the DS? Because that sounds like that would be similar.
Oh, Hotel Dusk?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe. They have a lot of music in that game, and it's very good. Like, when you're fighting the gangsters, they have this unique theme. I don't know what game it's from, but it's so freaking good. The music in this game is so good.
Is there anything else you can tell us about this game that won't, like, spoil it too much, or...?
I will say, like I said, you're playing a character, Sylvester. You don't choose a starter. He has his pet, which is a Swinub. Is that what it's called? That little Pokemon that's like a furball and it turns into a mammoth.
Oh, yeah, okay. Something like that.
And he's like his little partner. And it's like when you're in his office, you're like, yeah, I put Swinub's bed away from my desk because he's always like freezing my papers or trying to chew at them.
Oh.
And like there are some points where like you bring him out to help you sniff around for stuff. It's
that
like,
makes sense.
There's smells here. I need your help. So you bring him out and you control the Swinub going around the map and sniffing stuff. There's this one point in chapter 3 that like I said, chapter 3 is like, oh, this isn't a missing persons case. This person has been offed. And things get a little like, basically they're telling you, hey man, look, I know you're a private eye, but don't get into our stuff.
Can you make a choice of whether you do or not?
No, not really. I mean, I guess you could just stop playing the game, but that's not in his character, right?
But this game does have dialogue choices, right?
I don't
or like
think
you
so.
Would select different options, because like even in the Nurse Joy, I can do different options in any order.
The time there's choices when you're like confronting people or asking for evidence and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
If somebody, for example, is like, there's in this third case, there's another side case that isn't really related to the case you're looking into, but is tangentially related. So you kind of have to like talk to this person about like there was an accidental death. He's in this research lab and like they're trying to cure rabies in a local Bidoof population, right? And they're like, oh, we did it. The thing is cured, and well, it turns out maybe they didn't do it all the way, and their company's covering up some stuff, and like there was an accidental death. I won't go too much further into that, anyways. But
dun, dun, dun.
So you have to basically talk to him and like present evidence. Be like, well, look, I know this. You go through your book, and like this is the evidence you presented to him, and that like moves the story along. Luckily, I don't know if you want to say luckily. I guess luckily, in my opinion, you don't have to worry about it too much. If you get it wrong, they're just basically like, no, that doesn't make sense, and you can try again. It's not like Phoenix Wright, where if you present like 5 things wrong, you get a game over. Is that good? Is that bad? I think it's just a less headache to not worry about it too much. But so when you're presenting stuff like that, you can mess up, but whatever, it's fine. At the end of this case, basically, yeah, like I said, the people were like, hey, stay out of our stuff. They kind of, I guess, small spoiler, he ends up getting, something happens to him and you have to play as a different character for a bit. So you're playing as this other character that you've run into a few times, this little like local, I don't want to call him a ruffian. He's just like a petty level
street kid.
Yeah, a street rough, whatever. He's a kid with maybe a good heart, just gotten into with the wrong people.
Yeah, that sounds typical.
So you're playing as him, and the little Swinub is with Sylvester, and he has to escape to go get help. And like, it's funny, at this point in the game, my Swinub was like level 30, and he's like, oh, in order to break through this wall, you have to be stronger. The Swinub is like talking to himself, I guess, in his mind. So he evolves to break out.
Oh my god.
So you visit this kid, I'm just gonna use his name, Mordecai, and like he's like, oh god, there's this, what is the Swinub's evolution called?
I don't know.
It's the mammoth one. I'm sorry, I don't remember all their names. And he's like, oh no, there's this big mammoth thing here, and he's
gonna hurt me.
Yeah, he's like, my Sandshrew can't take this on, so he's like trying to escape. But like he eventually like sees that he's carrying his friend's hat, and he's like, oh, my friend needs help, whatever. In the, that kind of lassie way, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, the character realizes, oh, he must be hurt. Something must have happened. Okay, fine, let's go see. So he goes to the police station and is like, something happened to Sylvester. You got to help me. And the cops are like, he doesn't work here anymore. We don't really care. It's not been 24 hours. He's like, but if he's been caught by these bad guys, he probably doesn't have 24 hours. Anyway.
The cops are useless.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. So the chief of police is friends with Sylvester, so he's like, fine, I'll look into it. But the rest of the cops don't really help. But the fun part is, in this part of the game, it just switches it up. Now you're controlling this other character. You don't have access to your Pokemon anymore. You have his Sandslash, which is like level 30, and Sylvester's evolved Swinub. Is that what they're called? I'm sorry. His evolved form is now joined. So you got the two Pokemon. You got his Sandslash and the Mammoth, right? The Ice Ground Mammoth. And for this section of the game, that's just all you have. But it's cool because technically that Mammoth isn't his. He counts as a traded Pokemon for that bit, so he's getting like boosted XP.
Oh, jeez.
So you're going through this little mini dungeon to get to where Sylvester is, and you save him. You have like a double battle with one of the gangsters, whatever, and then you get back to Sylvester. He has to go to the hospital to patch up a bit, but he's fine. He has some bandages on. He's fine, whatever.
Is he gonna take the kid on to his side as a sidekick like Robin?
I don't know. I haven't really got much further than that. At this point in the game, it's like, well, okay, I'm gonna go back to my office and we'll go from there. There were some side quests I wanted to do because somebody was at the hospital, they brought their Pokemon in and they're like, the Pokemon Center isn't doing anything or whatever. Can you please take the Pokemon and do something? And they're like, sorry, we're a human hospital. You have to take him somewhere else. And I guess this guy's like a gangster or something. He's like, you know what? You just keep it. I don't care. So you get this Pokemon and he's like really badly messed up. And it's like, oh, wasn't there a NPC that was like, if you ever find a Pokemon that's really messed up, you can bring us here and we'll rehab it. So I did that little side quest. There's a ton of side quests in this game that you don't have to do, but because the world is so fun to explore and like visually,
you just do want to do everything.
Yeah, visually it's such a pretty game. Like I love it's basically like the GBA era Pokemon, but like the sprite work is really well done. Especially, I know I've said this already, but especially the other trainers I think look so good. The gangsters, the petty thieves, the urban people who were just like range from lasses who are dressed up for the snow to fancy people who are rich or whatever. There's just so much life in this city, and it's really fun to play a game like this where it's like, yeah, it is the city because the city has so much life and so many stories to tell.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, you've convinced me. I need to try this after the last nurse.
I will say this can be kind of a downside. It is hard. Luckily, there are difficulty settings, so I turned it down to easy. And even on easy, some of them can be hard.
Okay.
They have a thing where you can manually set the IVs, which I'm kind of not a huge fan of. I wish the game wouldn't just... Because that's one more thing I don't really want to think about.
I barely know IVs anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not a sweaty Pokemon tryhard. I just kind of want to play through for the story and to capture Pokemon I like and to use, but like... That is one thing you have to remember when you catch a new Pokemon that you're going to use. You have to go into the stat screen and set its IVs. You can just max out like the HP and the attack and not think about it too deeply. Or you can get like super sweaty about it and be like, oh, this Pokemon should have like this level of defense and this level of attack and speed. Honestly, I wish I didn't have to do that. That's my one nitpick. This is a game, if you love hard Pokemon battles and thinking about that stuff, you're going to love it on normal or hard. But I just cranked it down to easy because I don't want to deal with that stuff.
You're here for the story.
Yeah, I like the character. I like the fact that I'm playing as an adult who's just in this world and like, trying to do the right thing, I guess. He used to be a cop. He saw that the police force sucks and he's like, I don't want to deal with these people anymore.
So he went off to do his own thing.
Yeah, and like the stories that come of that, it's been really good. I really like it. Some of the cases in the beginning, especially the first two, they're just like, I don't know if you want to call them tutorial cases. They're not like high stakes, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's picking up and I'm interested about the world. And it's funny. There's this one point, okay, slight spoilers, but in the third case, it's a missing persons case, right? And one of the people you go to talk to is the missing person's brother. And he's like a bodyguard for this mafioso's lady's daughter.
Okay.
So it's like, he's kind of a hard ass, but he's, it's like, well, I don't really keep in touch with my brother, so I can't really say what happened to him. It's like, you can tell that he's worried, but he's like, they're not close. But still, at the end of the case, when you see like the wrap up of each episode story, it still hit him hard. Like, damn, my bro, It's tough because I don't want to make it seem like this game is edgy. I think they handle mature themes really well, which can be hard to do. especially in a game about Pokemon, you know? It's kind of funny.
I mean, even Nintendo themselves can get pretty fucking cringe sometimes.
And it's like, what if, you know, Team Rocket was actually a mafia that it wasn't just about being a cartoon villain? Because, like...
I mean, Giovanni fits the bill.
Yeah, it's like...
The rest of Team Rocket is the kind of the bit that's like, eh.
They are people with their own motivations that go beyond just being a road bump for the main character, you know? And I think that's what makes them interesting. They aren't just evil bad guys. They do have their own motivations, and they're going to be upset when you get in the way or if you're snooping around too much. So it's been fun snooping around the city, seeing all the districts and all the life and all the people in it, and like even just seeing the Pokemon out in the world. Like, you know how in Pokemon you'll like dig through trash?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to find like a Skitty in there who's a wild Skitty just like looking for food, or like a Trubbish or something.
Makes sense.
If you see like a seagull hanging out at the edge of the dock, you can go talk to it and try to get your own seagull. I forget the name of the seagull Pokemon. It's good. I really like it, and I'm going to keep playing it. If there's one Pokemon fan game I finish, it's definitely going to be this one. So yeah, Pokemon Ash and Frost. I highly recommend it if you want a cool fan Pokemon to play. It's completely free, really well done. The music, I can't say enough things about the music, because it's like just other game music, I guess, but there's so many games that I just don't recognize. So like when I pop into a random battle with this trainer, I don't know what this music is from, but it's freaking awesome.
Well, maybe I'll try to go through the list and see if I can add that to the end of today's episode. Maybe like if it's like calm jazz stuff.
I'll try to find one that is, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So definitely give this Pokemon fan game a shot before Nintendo tries to destroy everything that people create.
Hopefully a lot of these are safe. I think even Pokemon Uranium, the one that got a cease and desist, got picked up by somebody else, so that one's safe too. But
they're just passing around. They can't get everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the internet for you. It should just, stuff like this should be just encouraged and cultivated, because like it's clear whoever made, especially Ash and Frost, is really talented, and like the game is full of love, not only for the series but just for storytelling in general.
Yeah. I think that was a good discussion.
Yeah. It's been a long one too. That's probably our second longest one. Although some of this is going to be cut down because we had some brain farts. Luckily, you don't have to hear our brain farts. Anyway, join us next time for more random rambling and lots of brain farts that you also won't have to listen to.
Yeah, and we'll try to make the topic not Pokemon all the time, because there's already other Pokemon podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about these Pokemon games anyways, and...
Because it's topical, that's fair.
It just kind of lined up. I wanted to talk about the fan games, and then this Pokemon news thing popped up. So yeah, this has been a very Pokemon-heavy episode.
Well, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Take care.